My unexpected journey after losing a family member. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. The roll-up door rattled, and I heard my brother's voice say my name, clear as day. I froze with my hand on the corrugated metal, breath trapped behind my teeth. Noah had been in the ground for 9 days. I had watched the funeral home workers lower him, had watched my mother's knees buckle, had watched strangers press damp hugs into my scrubs like sympathy could soak through fabric. I was Mia, 29, an ER nurse who could start in 4 in a moving ambulance, but couldn't keep my own hands from shaking in a storage facility off Route 9. My life had narrowed to shifts, microwave dinners, and the sickening habit of checking my phone for texts that would never come. The last message from Noah was a voicemail stamped 2:14 a.m. for nights before the crash. Hey me. If mom asks, I'm working late. Love you. He sounded like he was smiling and trying not to wake someone. The key in my fist was warm from being clenched too long. It had come from a sealed manila envelope Noah had taped under his dresser drawer, the kind of place he hid spare cash and old concert tickets. The envelope had been labeled in his blocky handwriting. Wrote, "If I'm gone, follow this. Don't tell MOM." Inside were 3 things. A small brass key on a red plastic tag stamped E113. A prepaid Visa card with a sticky note that said for gas plus beds. And a hand-drawn map, 3 dots connected by thick marker lines like a kid's treasure hunt. The card ended in 4481. I checked the balance online from my couch at 3:06 a.m. Like a sane person, $812. 17. Loaded the day before he died. I told myself grief made people do weird things. I told myself this was Noah being Noah, even from beyond, leaving me one last dumb scavenger hunt to distract me from the quiet. But the moment the keypad beeped and the unit number matched the tag, my stomach dropped like I'd missed a step. I slid the key into the lock. It turned too easily. Mia? Noah's voice came again, closer, like it was coming from inside the dark unit. Then something scraped softly against the concrete behind the door. Before Noah died, he made grief feel like something that happened to other families. He was the older brother who showed up with cold coffee and a story, who called me Nurse Ratchet when I bossed him around, who kept a running list of terrible puns on his phone just to deploy them at my worst moments. When I got my first apartment, he brought over a folding chair and announced, "Behold, your minimalist era." Our mother, Diane, didn't laugh as easily. She loved Noah, but she loved order more. She kept a calendar on the fridge with every birthday circled in red. Noah treated dates like suggestions. The week before the accident, I met him at a diner off my hospital exit. It was 1:30 a.m., the kind of hour where the fluorescent lights made everyone look guilty. Noah slid into the booth and tapped his right pocket twice, left pocket once. Keys, wallet, phone, the ritual he did without thinking. "You look wrecked," he said. I pulled a double. "A kid came in blue," I said, stirring my coffee like it contained answers. He went quiet for a second, then pushed his plate toward me. "Eat. You get scary when you forget you're a mammal." I smiled despite myself. "Mom texted. She wants you at her birthday dinner Sunday." Noah's jaw tightened just enough that I noticed. "I can't." "You always can't," I said, sharper than I meant. "You're 34, Noah. You can't keep disappearing." He stared at the sugar packets like they were a difficult math problem. "I'm not disappearing. I'm taking the long way." "That's not an answer. It's the only one I can give you right now," he said, voice low. "Please, Mia." I heard myself say the thing I regretted the second it left my mouth. "Is this about some girl again?" Noah's eyes flashed. "No, it's about family." He reached across the table, touched my wrist, and his hand felt colder than the room. "If anything happens, don't let Mom rewrite me," he said. Then his phone buzzed, and his face drained of color instantly. The funeral smelled like lilies and carpet shampoo, like someone had tried to scrub death out of the building. I wore my navy scrubs under a black cardigan because I'd come straight from a shift. My badge clipped to my waistband felt obscene, like I was advertising that I was good at saving strangers and still couldn't save my brother. People kept saying the same sentences in different mouths. He lit up a room. "He was taken too soon. Let me know if you need anything." I nodded until my neck ached. I accepted casseroles I would later throw away because the smell of warm cheese made me nauseous. I watched Diane cling to Noah's closed casket like if she held on hard enough, she could bargain. Then I noticed the thing that didn't fit. A woman stood in the back row, not close enough to be family, not far enough to be a random coworker. She wore a gray coat and held a small paper bag like it was fragile. She didn't cry loudly or collapse dramatically. She just watched the way you watched when you were counting details, like you didn't trust your memory. When the pastor asked anyone who wanted to come forward, she did, but only to slide something onto the flower stand. A card. I saw her handwriting because I was close enough to read it upside down. For Noah, thank you for finding me. I'm sorry I was late. L.H. My stomach tightened. Noah hadn't mentioned anyone new. He hadn't even been dating, as far as I knew. I caught up to her in the hallway, but she moved fast, head down, and by the time I pushed through the front doors into the cold, she was gone. That night, Diane sat at the kitchen table in her robe, staring at Noah's framed graduation photo like it might speak. The house was full of leftover food and quiet rage. Mom, I said, holding the flower card, who is L.H.? Diane's eyes flicked to it, in a way so quickly it felt like a flinch. Someone from work, she said. Don't start, Mia. Noah didn't have someone from work, I said. He barely had a job. Her jaw set. Go to bed. I didn't sleep. At 3:06 a.m. I stood in Noah's room, the air still faintly smelling like his cheap cologne, and I found the envelope taped under his dresser drawer. My fingers shook as I broke the seal for the first time. The storage unit was colder than outside, and it smelled like dust and motor oil. When I pulled the door up the rest of the way, the voice made sense. A small black speaker sat on a folding table, a cheap motion sensor duct taped to it. The moment light hit the sensor, the speaker played a file. Mia, Noah's recorded voice said, softer than a ghost. If you're hearing this, I didn't get to explain. I'm sorry. I sank onto a plastic tote like my bones had turned to wet sand. Noah, I whispered, because grief made you talk to recordings like they could answer back. The unit was neat in the way Noah's apartment never was. Everything had labels in black marker. Map, receipts, photos, do not bring home. In the center sat a red accordion folder with a sticky note, stop number 1. Inside were copies of documents I didn't understand at first glance, but the dates punched me awake. A receipt from Hudson County Clerk, stamped paid, dated April 12, 2025, $38.00. A certified mail slip with tracking numbers and a return address. P.O. Box 418, Cedar Falls, Iowa. A printout of a balance transfer on the prepaid card, loaded $800.00 on June 3, 2025 at 7:19 p.m. 3 motel receipts, all different towns, all the same handwriting in the signature box, N.H. There was also a photograph in a plastic sleeve. Not Noah. A woman about my age, hair pulled back, standing by a lake with a forced smile. On the back, in Noah's block letters, Lila, first contact May 27, 2025, do not tell Diane. My throat went dry. Lila, L.H. I flipped deeper and found a single page that looked like it had been printed at a library. Adoption record index sealed. Most of it was blacked out, but one line wasn't. Diane Harper, birth mother. Case file hashtag 07-1442. My pulse hammered. Harper was Mom's maiden name, the one she never used. A second sticky note was on the last page, pointing at the maps next to. Stop number 2, Cedar Falls Public Library. Ask for 07-1442. And under that, Noah had written one sentence that made my skin prickle. If Mom catches you, she will lie like it's oxygen. I thought I was being careful. I didn't bring the folder home. I only took a photo of the sealed index page and the map, then locked the unit back up until my hands stopped shaking. But Diane had a sixth sense for anything that threatened her version of the story. When I walked into the house at 6:40 a.m., my shoes still smelling like storage dust, she was waiting at the kitchen table with a mug of coffee she hadn't touched. Her eyes were puffy from crying, but her posture was stiff, like grief was something she could discipline. Where were you? She asked. Driving, I said too fast. She slid my car keys across the table. I found these in the dryer. You didn't do laundry. I stared at them. I had left them in my jacket pocket. She must have dug through it. Mom, I said, keeping my voice low because anger felt disrespectful in a house with funeral flowers dying in vases. Did Noah rent his storage unit? Her face didn't do what an innocent face did. It didn't crease in confusion. It went flat. No, she said. I pulled out my phone and set it on the table between us like evidence. The photo of the document glowed. Diane Harper, birth mother, sealed. Diane's hand tightened around her mug. Stop digging, she said, as if I'd asked about the weather. Who is LH? I asked. Who is Lila? She is nothing to you, Diane snapped, and the sound of her voice made the air feel thin. How do you know her name? I asked, heart pounding. You told me someone from work. Now you're saying she's nothing. Diane stood so fast her chair scraped. Your brother made mistakes, she said. He went looking for things that were buried for a reason. Buried, I repeated. Like sealed court records buried? Her eyes flashed wet. I did what I had to do, she said, and the words came out sharp, practiced. And Noah promised me he wouldn't contact her. I swallowed. So he did. Diane's voice cracked, and for half a second, she looked like a woman who had carried a secret too long. Mia, if you go to Cedar Falls, you will destroy what's left. I hadn't said Cedar Falls once, yet she spoke it perfectly. I didn't call Jamie because I wanted comfort. I called because Noah's name on that folder had turned into something sharp, and I needed a witness who wasn't my mother. Jamie picked up on the third ring, sounding like they'd been awake for days. Hey, Jamie said. You okay? No, I said. Did Noah ever mention someone named Lila? Silence stretched long enough that I could hear traffic through the phone. Then Jamie exhaled slowly. So you found it? Found what? I asked, even though my stomach already knew. The road thing, Jamie said. He told me you might. He made me promise not to say anything until it mattered. It matters, I snapped. He's dead. I know, Jamie said, voice breaking on the last word. God, Mia, I know. I stood in my apartment hallway with my work bag still on my shoulder, staring at the peeling paint. Tell me, I said. Jamie hesitated, and I could hear the click of a lighter. Noah found out about a sealed adoption. Someone your mom had before you. He didn't want to blow up the family, but he couldn't let it go. My throat tightened. How did he find out? I don't know, Jamie said, too fast. He just showed up one night with this folder, and that look he got when he was scared but pretending not to be. What look? The take the long way look, Jamie said. Like he was driving around a pothole he wouldn't name. I swallowed hard. Did he meet her? Jamie didn't answer immediately. That was answer enough. You did, I said. Jamie's voice went quiet. I met her once. She didn't want names over text. She just wanted proof. She wanted to know Noah wasn't lying. A cold wave rolled through me. Why didn't you tell me? Because your mom, Jamie said, and there was fear in the word. Noah said Diane would scorch the earth to keep it buried. My phone buzzed. Jamie had sent a screenshot. Noah's last message to them, dated June 4th, 2025, 9:52 p.m. If I don't make it, get MITO stop number 2 before Friday. What would you do? Jamie asked softly. If the truth cost you your last living family. I opened the prepaid card app and bought a one-way bus ticket anyway. Cedar Falls felt like a place people passed through, not a place secrets waited. Rain smeared the bus windows as we rolled in, and the station smelled like wet wool and vending machine coffee. I followed Noah's hand-drawn arrows to the public library, a building with flags and a squeaky door that made everyone look up. At the records desk, I tried to sound normal. Hi, I'm looking for information on a case file, I said, sliding a piece of paper forward with the number Noah had written, 07-1442. The clerk was a woman with tired eyes and a cardigan that had seen better days. She glanced at the number, and her eyebrows lifted a fraction. That's an adoption file, she said. It's family, I said, and hated how small my voice sounded. She pursed her lips. Sealed means sealed. I can give you non-identifying information if you're an immediate relative and you fill out the request. Her gaze flicked to my trembling hands. Or I can tell you what people usually do, unofficially. Unofficially, I echoed. She lowered her voice. They request the registry confirmation letter. It's a formality, but it leaves a paper trail. Paper trail. Noah's language. I filled out the request with my driver's license and my hospital badge because it was the only proof of me I had on hand. The clerk disappeared into a back room and returned with a thin envelope stamped State Department of Health, dated May 29th, 2025. Not my name. Noah's. My stomach lurched. Inside was a single page, mostly redactions, but the facts that remained were brutal in their simplicity. Birth mother, Diane Harper, 17. Child, female, DOB, August 19, 1990. Contact veto, filed February 11, 2010. Status, match located. Adult adoptee requested contact, denied. Denied by my mother. At the bottom, in a neat printed line, was the adoptee's legal name. Lila Hart. I stared until the words blurred. The funeral card. L.H. I needed to know it wasn't coincidence. I asked the clerk for the registry confirmation, and she pointed me to a computer terminal and whispered, "Search public records by birth date." So I did. County property records. A lease listing. A phone directory entry. Lila Hart. Age 34, current address. Astoria, Oregon. The printer spat out her name, and my hands went numb. I walked out of the library into rain that felt like it had been waiting for me. The printed page with Lila Hart's name soaked through my jacket pocket. I sat in the bus station bathroom, staring at my own face, trying to picture a sister I'd never met. Jamie answered when I called, voice tight. "You found her." "I found the state letter," I said. "Mom filed a contact veto. In 2010. Jamie swore under their breath. Noah thought so. Thought so. I repeated. "You knew?" Jamie hesitated. He didn't have proof until recently. He was collecting it, like a case. I opened the photo folder Noah had left in the storage unit and scrolled through the pictures I'd taken. The sealed index, the motel receipts, the scribbled map. One image I hadn't really looked at was a screenshot Noah had printed, an email confirmation, subject line, Amtrak reservation. Date, June 5, 2025. Passenger, Noah Harper. Destination, Astoria, Oregon. My stomach turned. Noah died on June 4, 2025 in a single-car crash, 40 miles from our town, on a road that didn't make sense for him to be on. The police had called it driver fatigue. I had nodded because it was easier than asking questions. In the storage folder labeled "Do Not Bring Home," there was also a manila envelope addressed to Lila Hart, never mailed. Inside was a handwritten letter in Noah's familiar block print. "I'm not showing up to ruin your life," he'd written. "I'm showing up because you deserve to know why she said no." Noah hadn't been chasing drama. He had been trying to do the one thing our family was best at avoiding, telling the truth. Jamie's voice came through my phone, softer now. He was supposed to meet her at the water, they said. That was stop number 3. The water, I echoed, staring at the map's third. A wavy line. A coastline. I understood the twist then, and it landed like a punch. Noah's long way hadn't been a metaphor. He had been traveling to make contact that Mom had legally tried to prevent, and he'd done it carefully, like someone who knew there would be fallout. I flipped to Noah's notebook photo, and one sentence stared back at me. "If I die, tell Lila the truth about Diane's veto." Back in my motel room in Cedar Falls, I spread Noah's clues across the bed like I was trying to assemble a person from paper. Map. Registry letter. The printed public record page with Lila Hart's address. Motel receipts with Noah's signature. It all felt too deliberate to be grief-brain coincidence. I stared at the options until my eyes burned. Option 1. Go home, confront Diane, demand the truth. The problem was I had already seen her reflex. Lie first. Protect the story. Cry if that didn't work. Option 2. Call the state adoption registry, ask what contact veto meant in plain English, and trigger a trail so loud Diane would hear it from across the county. Option 3. Do what Noah had set up, follow the map, meet Lila myself, and decide what to do with the truth afterward. I called Jamie again because I needed someone to say I wasn't insane. "If you go to Astoria," Jamie said, "don't tell your mom. She'll try to stop you." "She already tried," I said. "She told me I'd destroy what's left." Jamie's laugh was humorless. That's her favorite spell. I pressed my forehead to the motel window and watched rain bead and slide down the glass. "What did Noah want?" I asked. "He wanted you two to meet," Jamie said. "And he wanted Diane to stop controlling the narrative." "Does Lila even want to see me?" "She wanted proof Noah was real," Jamie said. "Now Noah's gone. You're the only proof left." I made a plan because that was the only way I knew how to keep from drowning. I booked an overnight train west using the prepaid card, saved every confirmation email, and printed the tickets at the kiosk, so I'd have timestamps. I bought a cheap notebook and wrote in block letters the way Noah did. What I know, what I need, what I can prove. I decided I would meet Lila first, listen more than I spoke, and record only if she agreed. Then I would go home and confront Diane with facts, not feelings. Not because I wanted to punish her, because I didn't trust her to tell the truth without a mirror held to it. At 10:18 p.m., I walked into the station with my backpack and Noah's map folded in my pocket. Across the street, headlights idled in a car I recognized too well. I got on the train without looking back, but I felt the weight of being watched like a hand between my shoulder blades. The station was loud with rolling suitcases and echoing announcements. I kept my hood up, head down, like that could make me invisible. In my seat, I texted Jamie, "Mom's here." I think she followed me. Jamie replied a minute later, "Turn off location sharing." Now, my stomach dropped. Diane paid for our family phone plan because control was her love language. I went into settings with shaking fingers and saw it. Share my location, on. I flicked it off. 2 minutes later, my phone rang. MOM flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail, because if I heard her voice I might fold. The voicemail came through anyway, transcript in that cheerful robotic font. "Mia, come home. You don't know what you're doing. I can't lose you too." For a second I stared at the words and felt 12 years old again, obedient by default. I imagined Diane alone at the kitchen table, the calendar still on the fridge, Noah's circle of dates now meaningless. Then another message buzzed, this one from my charge nurse at the hospital. "Did you request time off? HR got a call from your MOM." My throat closed. Diane had called my workplace. I walked to the tiny bathroom between cars, locked the door, and pressed my forehead to the cold metal. I could almost hear Noah laughing at me for thinking I could outmaneuver our mother. I called Jamie, whispering. "She called my job." "That's her move," Jamie said. "She panics, she controls." "I can't lose my job," I said, voice breaking. "I can't lose everything." "You won't," Jamie said. "Tell your supervisor you're handling a family emergency. Then keep going." Noah didn't set this up so Diane could win by fear. I wiped my face with paper towels and called the hospital back. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. "My brother died," I told my charge nurse. "I'm sorting legal stuff. My mother is not okay. Please don't take messages from her." When I returned to my seat, the overhead light was on and my backpack sat slightly open. I knew I'd zipped it. I slid my hand inside and felt paper edges, less than before. When I opened my bag, Noah's map was gone, and only one note remained. Astoria smelled like salt and wet wood, like the ocean was chewing on the town. I arrived after 2 transfers, a stiff sleep, and a headache that felt like a second heartbeat. The gray sky pressed low over everything, and the waterfront boards were slick under my shoes. I relied on what I still had, the printed record and Noah's note about the water. I walked the riverfront until I saw a woman in a gray coat, standing alone with a paper bag. The same coat from the funeral. I stopped a few feet away. "Lila?" I asked, and my voice came out small. She turned slowly, eyes sharp and tired. "Mia," she said, like she'd practiced the name. "Who?" "You were at the funeral?" I managed. "I had to see him," Lila said. Her hands tightened around the bag. "I didn't get there in time." I swallowed. "I didn't know you existed." "Neither did I," she said, and the words landed between us like a dropped plate. "Not until I was 19 and requested my records." I got one line back. "Birth mother filed a veto. Do not contact." Like I was a debt collector. My chest ached. Diane did that. Lila flinched at my mother's first name. "She hates hearing her own name out loud," she said quietly. "Noah told me." I sat on the damp bench across from her. "How did you know Noah?" Lila exhaled, and for a second, she looked like she might turn and run. "He found me last year," she said. "He sent proof. Copies of the registry letter, a photo of your mom when she was 17, and a recording of an argument. He said he didn't want to hurt her. He just wanted her to stop pretending I was a mistake that could be erased." "A recording?" I repeated, heart pounding. Lila reached into the paper bag and pulled out a small USB drive taped to a folded receipt. "He told me to give this to you if anything happened," she said. "He said you would be the one who'd handle it with care." My hands shook as I took it. The receipt was from a gas station, dated June 4th, 2025, 10:58 p.m. 2 counties away from where he crashed. "He was driving to meet me that night," Lila said, voice breaking. I told him not to. I couldn't breathe. Why didn't he tell me? Because he was terrified of your mother, Lila whispered. And because he thought he had time. Then she slid her phone across the bench, and Noah's last text lit the screen. I listened to the USB recording in my rental car because I didn't trust my face to stay neutral in public. I plugged the drive into my phone with an adapter, and audio crackled. Mia, Noah's voice said, close and real. If you're hearing this, I didn't get to explain. I went still. Mom, please, Noah said. She's not a threat. She's a person. Diane's voice came back sharp and exhausted. Don't say her name in my house. You filed a veto, Noah said. You told the state to deny her. Why? Silence. A chair creaked. I could picture the kitchen. Our kitchen. The one where Diane had told me to go to bed like obedience was medicine. I was 17, Diane said finally, and the words sounded like they hurt to breathe. You have no idea what that was like. I'm not judging you for giving her up, Noah said. I'm judging you for pretending she doesn't exist. Because I needed it to stop, Diane said. Noah, I whispered, what did she do? Diane's voice dropped into something colder. If you bring her to my door, I will tell her to leave. And if you tell Mia, I will say you're confused from grief. Do you understand me? My stomach turned. It wasn't just fear. It was strategy. The audio ended with Noah's voice, small. You're choosing your reputation over your child. My mouth tasted like pennies. For the first time, I understood Noah's fear. I opened the USB folder and saw scanned documents Noah had saved alongside the audio. A consent to adoption form dated August 21st, 1990, Diane Harper's signature in blue ink. A contact veto form dated February 11th, 2010, the same signature, and one boxed line typed in all caps. On the drive was a scanned form where Mom checked the box, do not contact. I went home 2 days later with the USB drive in my pocket like it weighed 5 pounds. The house looked the same, calendar on the fridge, casserole dish in the sink, but I didn't fit in it anymore. Diane was in the kitchen, wiping the counter that was already clean. When she saw me, relief flashed across her face and turned into anger almost immediately. You left, she said. You just left. You tracked my phone, I said, dropping my backpack by the door. You called my job. I was trying to keep you safe, Diane snapped. Safe from what? I asked. From my own family? Her eyes narrowed. Did you meet her? I didn't answer, and that was answer enough. Diane's hands gripped the edge of the counter. Mia, she said, voice low, I told you to stop. I stopped being 12, I said, and my voice surprised me with how steady it sounded. Noah left a recording. The color drained from her face. Don't, she whispered. I plugged my phone into the speaker Noah used for music while he cooked. The same speaker now carried his last fight with our mother. Diane stood perfectly still as Noah's voice filled the kitchen. Mom, please. She's a person. Diane's breath hitched at the word veto, like it was a slap. When the recording reached her cold promise, I will tell Mia you're confused from grief. She made a sound I had never heard from her, half laugh, half sob. This was private, she said, hoarse. He had no right. He died trying to fix what you broke, I said, and the words came out before I could soften them. He was on his way to meet Lila the night he crashed. Diane flinched like I'd thrown something at her. No, she said. No, that's not true. I pulled out the gas station receipt Lila had given me and set it on the counter. June 4th, 2025, 10:58 p.m. The county name matched the crash report. Then I set down the registry letter with her contact veto form attached. Diane's mouth opened and closed. Her shoulders curled inward, smaller than I'd ever seen her. At my hospital, HR emailed a reminder about boundaries with family members. I was too numb to care. I had never felt so alone inside my own last name. Diane stared at the papers like they were venom. Mom's hands trembled as she reached for the paper and finally read Lila's name. The fight didn't end with a dramatic confession or a slammed door. It ended with Diane sitting at the kitchen table, head in her hands, whispering, I can't do this. Like the truth was a physical object too heavy to lift. I wanted to hate her. It would have been cleaner. But grief wasn't clean, and neither was she. I took the papers back from under her shaking fingers and said, We're not doing this by screaming. She looked up, eyes red. Then how? By boundaries, I said, and the word felt strange in my mouth, like something I'd learned at work and never brought home. You don't call my job again. You don't track my phone. And you don't pretend Noah made this up. Diane's voice was small. He recorded me. He did, I said, because he knew you'd deny it. Jamie called that night, guilt heavy in every sentence. I helped him set up the motion speaker, they admitted. He said you'd need to hear him. I'm sorry. I didn't know what to say to that. In the end, I said, thank you for not letting his last words disappear. And it was the closest thing to forgiveness I had. Lila and I spoke on the phone twice a week after that. She didn't ask me to choose her over Diane. She just asked for honesty. I don't want to punish her, Lila said once. I just want her to stop erasing me. So I did the only ethical thing that felt possible. I called the state registry and asked, in plain terms, what a contact veto did and how it could be withdrawn. I wrote down everything. Dates, forms, steps. I told Diane she could send one letter to the registry through me. No address exchange, no surprise visits, no ambushes. On Sundays, I drove to Noah's grave with a thermos of coffee and sat until my breathing slowed. I told him about the ocean smell in Astoria. I told him I was trying. Diane didn't hug me. She wasn't ready. But she stopped fighting me, and that was something. It felt like the first crack in a wall I'd lived inside. 3 weeks later, an envelope arrived addressed to Lila Hart in Mom's handwriting. Grief taught me that people didn't just die once. They died the day the accident happened, and then they died again every time someone edited them into something easier to hold. Noah had been the carefree one in our family story, the funny brother, the unreliable son. I used to roll my eyes at his chaos. After the road envelope, I understood his meticulous side wasn't secret drama, it was care. It was him trying to leave breadcrumbs so I wouldn't drown in half-truths. I carried Diane's letter to the post office like it was fragile glass. I sent it through the registry the way they instructed, certified mail, tracking number, signature required, because Noah had taught me that facts mattered when emotions got loud. A week later, the state mailed back a confirmation. Contact veto withdrawal received, dated July 2nd, 2025. It didn't say forgiven. It didn't say fixed. It just said the door wasn't legally locked anymore. Lila cried on the phone when I told her. I cried too, quietly, because my tears still felt like betrayal to someone, always. We met again at the riverfront in Astoria, not as strangers this time. We sat with 2 paper cups of coffee and talked about Noah until the fog lifted. She showed me a photo he'd taken of her laughing, and I realized I'd never seen my brother look so relieved. Diane didn't come. Not then. Healing wasn't a montage. But she stopped correcting people when they asked if Noah had any other siblings. She stopped trying to control my choices with fear. Sometimes, that was what progress looked like, the absence of a weapon. If you're watching this because you lost someone and your world feels unreal, here's the practical thing I learned the hard way. Write down what you know, save receipts, and ask one honest question even if it shakes you. Secrets don't stay buried on their own. They require someone to keep digging the hole. I still missed Noah every day. I still wished he'd just told me at that diner instead of taking the long way. But when I thought about the envelope and the map, I finally understood the last gift he'd left me: permission to choose truth without cruelty.